$2.2 billion. That is what you spent last year on phones for low-income Americans. But the Wall Street Journal has reviewed this so-called Lifeline program and looked at the top 5 cell phone providers under this initiative. And the Journal found out that 41% of the more than 6 million subscribers cannot demonstrate or did not demonstrate eligibility for this program. So that is waste. Potentially millions of people getting free phones or subsidized phones who should not have gotten them. Congressman Tim Griffin joins us now from Washington. Congressman, why was this allowed to go on as long as it did? This review of eligibility requirements by these cell phone providers was only put into place by the FCC last year.
Well, I think that they are responding to pressure that they've gotten both from Capitol Hill and also from Americans who are outraged that people are getting free cell phones. If it were up to me, this entire program of the free cell phones would be gone. I've got a bill, H.R. 176. It's the Stop Taxpayer-Funded Cell Phones Act. And I will continue to push that. I mean, it seems to me this is such a basic point. If we can't deal with eliminating waste like this, how are we ever going to deal with a $16 trillion debt?
Well, but you're essentially saying that the entire program, because it originally started in the mid-'80s, just related to providing phones for low-income Americans and was much later expanded to include cell phones. It got away from the government, but you're essentially saying that the entire program in terms of subsidized cell phones should be done away with. But why is that? If we're moving toward, but if we're moving toward a wireless world, why would you just do away with it altogether? That doesn't seem the solution. Isn't it just in how it's policed by the government?
No, I don't think the federal government ought to be in the business of buying people cell phones. If you took your point to the next level, should the government be buying everyone computers? Should the government be buying everyone all the latest technology so we're all wired? How about iPads? Does the government need to buy everybody an iPad who can't afford an iPad? I mean, where does this end? This is ridiculous.
Well,
You've got to draw a line.
Well, are you not satisfied, though, because, again, we have found out about the number of people who are probably not eligible for it, but getting these subsidies because the FCC has now put the burden on the wireless provider or on the phone provider to police the eligibility of it. So you're not satisfied with that will weed out millions of people getting these phones who shouldn't have gotten them?
Well, that's certainly a step in the right direction, but I think the broader point is more of a philosophical one, which is, why is the government buying people free cell phones in the first place? That's the question. I understand it's great if people have them. It's great if people have iPads. It's great if people have desktop computers. But I mean, that's not the government's role to buy all of that stuff for people. That's the bottom line. And the government ultimately isn't buying it.
Well,
I'm buying it. You're buying it.
But you know what? Isn't some of the burden on these companies, these phone providers and these wireless providers who might have taken advantage of the government not asking if the people getting the phones shouldn't have been getting them?
Well, here's the bottom line. They have a responsibility to follow the law. I think the government needs to do a better job when it starts a program like this of making sure that it's run properly. But the bottom line is, look, if you're putting this in place because you think someone needs a line at home so they can get in touch with 911, let's give out phones that only call 911. How many of those would you have taken? That's a good question. I mean, we've got a spending problem. We need to deal with it.
Congressman, it was good to see you. Thank you for being here. Congressman Tim Griffin of Arkansas. And Kyle, I just wanted to point out the reason these numbers are so stark. This journal looked at the Wall Street Journal looked at the top 5 recipients of this program and found 41% couldn't demonstrate their eligibility. The FCC estimated just 15% of users would be weeded out. So there's a big gap in maybe the amount of abuse in the program.
Man, those are some pretty big numbers. We have an